So we're live.
We are live.
All right. Good morning. We appreciate those of you that are with us in person this morning at the gathering site. We appreciate those that are watching us right now live. I'm John Ahmann. I'm president of the Westside Future Fund.
My name is Benjamin Earley. I'm happy to be here with you this morning. For those who are joining for the first time or watching for the first time, I'm a fourth generation Westside native. And so the work the Westside Future Fund does to help revitalize the community into one that can be proud to call home is something that's close to my heart, and it really, it touches me in a very special way because I ride it down from my Westside. Y'all already know what's happening. So, we got our special guest this morning. How you feeling about it?
Feel bad about a guest we're missing.
Yeah, exactly. Miss Ebony Ford, our co-host, our beloved co-host this morning. She's at home, currently stopped up to sleep last night, so we wish her the best. We hope they get well soon, and we look forward to having you back at the next time. We appreciate you and all that you do.
Feels better sooner, and as we, I know I recognize many of y'all coming to our summits. We always have to make sure to recognize anyone who welcome first timers. The first time the Chick-fil-A is free, but after that, it's very, we appreciate it. It's always, but for those that are for the first time, so our program this morning, Benjamin and I will talk for a couple more minutes, but then we're going to have a devotion speaker. We always have a different devotion speaker. We'll talk about that in a minute, and then more people will be coming in, and we'll do self-introductions after the devotion speaker, and then we're going to have, following our devotion speaker, and I'm pointing because y'all are all sitting together, our program for today, Trees Atlanta, and then we'll wind up, and we're always done by 9 o'clock, and we're really excited today for our guest, Trees Atlanta. So when we started with Westside Future Fund, some of our revitalization work, especially in these underserved neighborhoods with lots of abandoned lots of abandoned property, that we partnered with Trees Atlanta to do our landscaping, and also, we like to, when we redevelop something, leave more trees there when we found it. But they've been doing excellent work across the neighborhoods, and we're just one of their partners. And so hearing about, because one of the consequences of underserved neighborhood is also the tree cover and the health of the trees, and especially now with the summer like that, we really appreciate that. So we'll hear more from them soon, and thank them for being here this morning. And I think also I'm a little off because Ebony usually is here to help with our summer transitions. But
one thing I did want to highlight, because we do have this particular special guest here, is everybody's used to, our printout bulletins, but as of late, we've been going with the QR code, which you can find at the back of the room to help conserve, our partners in life that are trees. So you can find those QR codes again at the back of the room. And if you're watching at home, you can find the bulletin on our website. That's westsidefuturefund.org. Yes.
All right. And then were you, did you want to go through the different folks where we have?
Yeah, so we're really excited for Trees Atlanta. So Trees Atlanta is all about conserving, preserving, and educating the public when it comes to the preservation of trees and preserving, more specifically, Atlanta's natural urban forests. I can't tell you how many out-of-towners that I meet who, come from the West Coast specifically, usually. And they come here and they say, wow, Atlanta really is like a city within like a forest. And that's something that a lot of people aren't necessarily ready to see, to the scale that it is. And that's one of the things that I love about Georgia. I'm not sure that I could live, in a city that didn't have greenery, like at every angle of my view. No hate if you're from New York City or anything like that. Y'all, we love y'all just as much. But one thing that I love about my Atlanta, one thing I love about Georgia is greenery, trees. Like, I feel more alive. And so I'm happy and I'm honored to be a part of a program with an organization that's really contributing to not just preserving, trees for the sake of doing it, but it's also environmental justice. We speak a lot about creating an equitable community here on the Westside. And you highlighted it earlier, but one of the things that we do experience in underserved communities is we have less access to health. We have less access to the means to actually remain healthy, to stay healthy, whether it's healthcare, food. And one of the issues that we are all aware of now is the lead poisoning that's in the ground that's throughout the Westside, and that's been a historic issue that we've had. And so being more in the frame of thought to be conscious of what we do in the environment, to be conscious of what we put in ourselves, be conscious of how we till the land around us, how we engage with nature around us, I'm excited for them to highlight that. Our special guests for today include Ms. Angel Abreu. She is the Youth Tree Team alumna. Ms. Cate Hughes, she is the NeighborWoods with a capital W manager at Trees Atlanta. Ms. Willette Jackson, Workforce Development and Engagement Supervisor at Trees Atlanta. Mr. Greg Levine, Co-Executive Director and Chief Program Officer at Trees Atlanta. And Ms. Connie Veates, Co-Executive Director and Chief Operating Officer at Trees Atlanta. Again, we've got the QR codes in the back in case you want to have a bulletin to look at the rest of their bios in more detail. Just go to the back and pull out your camera.
All right, and I know the Get Connected slide, we always like to remind people if they're...
Absolutely. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. We love, love, love to stay engaged with folks. The only way that we really share the information that happens here at these summits, and these summits are amazing. I mean, we have incredible guests every single time. But the more information that we can share on social, the more that these summits can be impactful. And you'll see right now we don't necessarily have to fill up the room in order to have a full audience. We tend to have viewers online watching through Facebook and the YouTube feed. But everybody watching online, we appreciate you tuning in. Go ahead and hit a like, subscribe, follow if you haven't already, and drop a comment in the comment section for a nice Friday morning greeting. We like to tune in with you. We'll check in with you later. But again, we're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Go ahead, follow our channels. Help us to share the information that we share here at these summits.
All right, thank you, Benjamin. And now we're going to shift to our devotion. For those that are here for the first time, and appreciate Dan and Kathy, who was kind of had the suggestion to do these Transform Westside Summits, but also to ground them with the devotion. And we always love to have people from the community give the devotion as well as professional ministers. But as part of the devotion, to draw from the lessons of Nehemiah in the Old Testament. And so if you're not familiar, the lesson of Nehemiah going back to rebuild Jerusalem, starting with the walls, but then really about how to lead a community, bring a community together from a value perspective. And so we always ask our speaker to draw inspiration from the lessons of Nehemiah. And before we bring up the devotion speaker, we always read the same statement to kind of level set our devotion. It's become our tradition to begin our meetings with a positive, inspirational message from a member of our community, recognizing that many in our community are driven by their spiritual faith to participate in the Westside revitalization effort. The time at the beginning of our meetings is an opportunity to share various inspirational reflections. While the speakers may articulate their personal faith, it's meant to be inclusive, inspiring, and meaningful with the story of Nehemiah as our guide. And so Dana Render, who's the Director of Human Resources for Trees Atlanta, is going to give our devotion. And I just met her myself this morning, and she and we appreciate Trees Atlanta, because I was saying often when folks come, we often have to go find the devotion speaker, but y'all came with one ready to go, so that's terrific. And she's been with the organization since 2016 and manages all their human resources. And prior to Trees Atlanta, she served for 11 years with various not-for-profits, so we know she's got a heart of service. And then I asked her if, because she seemed very confident to give the devotion this morning, like ready to go. And so she said she's familiar with Nehemiah from her own worship experiences. So we're really pleased. So Benjamin and I are going to step down this way and ask you to come up and lead us in our devotion. And maybe to help her get going, we could kind of give her a round of applause of greeting and encouragement.
Good morning. It's really great to be here with all of you. And I am so thankful that I was asked to give the devotion this morning. Additionally, I'm thankful, and also my colleagues, our leadership, we are thankful that you've given us a platform this morning to talk a little bit about what we do and how we work in the communities that we serve. So let's talk a little bit about community. Whether the communities we belong to are derived from heritage or shared locations, values, ideas, or religion, those communities provide each and every one of us with a place for safety, security, also for health, joy, celebration, identity, and belonging. And the people in those communities that we share, we care about them, even if we've never met them in person. And so I know that if at any point in time that any community that we belong to is threatened with danger or destruction, we would be quick to want to restore justice, to want to bring restoration to those places. So Nehemiah, he belonged to a couple of communities. One, he was part of a community that represented his birth and also his profession, which was a cupbearer to King Artaxerxes of Persia. And also there's a community of his heritage and his faith. And as a Jewish man who had an affinity for the Israelites of Jerusalem. So you can imagine when he heard about what the Babylonians had done to the city walls and to the city of Jerusalem, and how he felt so much for the Israelites when they came back from exile to find a desolate landscape. He had a crisis of faith. That crisis of faith really compelled him to get resources, to get support, to leave the comfort and support of his home to help bring restorative justice to the Israelites. Now, I can't imagine what his journey was really like, but I know that it was probably very difficult. We know that in the Bible it says that he had some death threats, that it was dangerous. I'm sure the terrain was hard. It was a long journey as well. I mean, the distance between Persia and Jerusalem is over 1,000 miles. And based on the mode of transportation he would have taken to get there, it would have taken him about 3 months. So I hope you really liked who he was traveling with, because that's one long road trip. So we know that those hardships created challenges, but that didn't dissuade him, because Nehemiah knew and he valued the people that were in those communities. He valued Jerusalem as a city and what it represented, and he felt them worthy to receive that restoration. It's one thing that we also have to remember about Nehemiah is that he was not a sole savior of this city. He took part in the rebuilding of the walls alongside others who were also part of this community. So the communities that make up Atlanta, our city is comprised of a unique and rich heritage and artifacts and landmarks and important people. And it's also made up of trees. So those trees benefit everyone who live in the communities, who visit those communities. We affectionately call our city the city in the forest, as was said earlier today. And we know that the benefits they provide are very difficult to replace if trees are removed. So we want to make sure that we continue to bring growth and development to our city. And I know a lot of us have seen the various cycles in our city of growth and development, abandonment, rediscovery, and restoration. I'm really proud to be part of an organization that seeks to bring growth and restoration, and we have the honor and privilege to partner with various entities that have helped to provide resources and physical support to create and promote environmental equity. Like Nehemiah's quest, Trees Atlanta's mission compels all of us to take part of the value and the vision that ultimately creates healthy shared spaces and strengthens our sense of place and pride in our communities. So there's an author, his name is Matthew Sleeth. He's a medical doctor. He wrote the book Foresting Faith, and he wrote this after he became a Christian. And that particular piece of work highlighted the spiritual significance of trees. He revered creation and also the symbolism of trees throughout the Bible. And it strengthened his faith because he could see how science and spirituality, how they collided, and how it all made sense because of the presence of trees. So trees were uniquely and continually used by God in the Bible to illustrate cycles of life and redemption. Sleeth's appreciation was really understood by me when he wrote a phrase in his book that said, "Trees are the only things from our childhood that are bigger when we go back to visit them as adults." So they grow, and we need them to grow. We need those trees to thrive because when they do, so do we, and so do all of our communities. And if you've never planted a tree, I definitely invite you to do so because it will give you a sense of accomplishment. It will give you a sense of pride because you are taking part along with lots of other people to provide something tangible that people will enjoy for years. And you will also enjoy those benefits for years to come as you see that tree, as you go by, as you sit under it maybe. And this morning, you are going to have the opportunity to learn about our mission at Trees Atlanta and also hear stories that show our love for the community and how we are thrilled to be a part of a landscape of philanthropists. Many are in this room, many are online, and many are around the city. And we're so thankful to take part in caring for our communities with all of you. Thank you.
All right, that was awesome. So thank you. And I appreciate the message about a couple things. One, there's not just one Savior. When you talked about Nehemiah, because sometimes we, really appreciate everyone in this room, everyone that's watching, because the collective work we're doing, it's all of us. It's not just one person. We all have a role. I was thinking, Dan, one of the early phone calls you gave me of encouragement is if on the metaphor of the brick on the wall, if everyone just took a brick, because if you try to imagine yourself doing the whole wall, pretty overwhelming and impossible, but can we just be a brick? And also appreciate, drawing on the, the restoration, of trees and the impact, because one of the things I know y'all know this, one of the things about underserved neighborhoods is they're traumatizing. And I've often reflected if you had the same, often people refer to them as low income neighborhoods, but you could also say they're traumatized neighborhoods. And one of the things that helps heal is trees and other, so y'all are, and all the other benefits that trees bring. So thank you for that message. And let's thank her one more time for, leading the devotion. And so the next part of our meeting, for those here for the first time, and it is, back to it's not just one person, but one way we can all help each other is to know each other. And so for those here for the first time, we're going to go around now and do self-introductions, and we ask everyone to stand up, hold the mic relatively close so it can pick up what you say, but please to say your name and kind of your affiliation, your organization, where you're from, and then really not any more than that. Just stop, because we want to get to everybody. But I'd really encourage you to listen to the introductions and then think about, back to the message. She moved to other parts. I keep referring to her like she's still there. Like how we can help each other. So it's during the devotions, maybe you hear about somebody that, hey, maybe I could be of service, or someone may come to you after the introduction. So that's really the multiplier effect. And we'll start over here. Are you ready? I know y'all just, all right, so.
Hi, I'm Brandon Sherwood. I'm a CPA with Baker Tilly in the real estate advisory practice with a specialization in affordable housing.
I'm Heather Sherwood, Baker Tilly, Georgia State University.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, John. Good morning, I'm Tracy Techow. I'm with the Atlanta Area Council, Boy Scouts of America.
Good morning, everyone. Reverend Dr. Leroy Wright, First Thessalonian Missionary Baptist Church, where we're empowered by God to embrace all people and enhance the world.
Good morning, Bob Dickinson, Dickinson Partners Group and Executive Director of the Esteemed Sports Foundation.
Hi, Neil Shorthouse with Partners in Change, free life coaching for adults who need one. David.
All right.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Lee Shaw Jr., and I'm here representing Redefine Ed Atlanta.
Great.
Good morning, Terry Bradley, Brown Toy Box.
We'll go this way.
Good morning, everyone. Caitlin Behringer, Open Hand Atlanta and Mechanicsville resident.
Good morning, everyone. Muriel Murphy, resident of the Vine City community.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Hattie Paula, resident of Vine City for over 50 years.
All right, thank you, Ms. Pollard.
Good morning, Sean Watwood, over at the Home Depot backyard in Mercedes-Benz Stadium.
Good morning, Nicole Jones, Westside Future Fund.
Good morning, Kelsey Wright with the Westside Future Fund.
Harrison Curry, Icon Filmworks.
And maybe we do this a little different. Y'all see what part of the Westside Future Fund you're with. When you say your name, Westside Future Fund, like what area you're in, too.
Oh, okay. Hi, good morning. I'm Marnie Pittman with Westside Future Fund. I'm the Director of Finance and Risk Management.
Good morning, everyone. Rachel Carey, Chief Real Estate Officer for Westside Future Fund.
Lee Hart, VP of Real Estate Development, Westside Future Fund.
Good morning, everyone. Tamika Askew, Westside Future Fund's Manager of Home on the West Side.
Good morning. My name is Raquel Hudson, Westside Future Fund, Director of Programs.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Saxon Phillips. I'm here for the Westside Future Fund.
Good morning, everyone. James Hammond, Icon Filmworks.
Good morning to Salma Haskins, TMPAV.
David Herring, TMPAV.
Misty Kelly, Westside Future.
Good morning. My name is Shobek Cillian, TMPAV.
Jermel Evans, TMPAV.
Daryl Peak, Icon Filmworks.
Good morning, David Edson with Cox Curry and Associates.
Yeah, we can go there.
Good morning. I'm Michelle Alexander. I'm an urban planner and economic developer. I'm going to be joining College Park as Economic Development Director, so thank you for being such a great neighbor and member of the community there.
Hi, everyone. I'm Tanya Coventry Strader. I'm a social impact consultant and executive director of Mothers and Others for Clean Air. And I'm working with Westside Future Fund on Ride for the West Side, which you'll hear about momentarily.
Daniel Blackman, Regional Administrator for United States Environmental Protection Agency. This is the entire southeastern United States. And we also listed Vine City to our national priorities list.
Good morning, Dan Cathy, part-time Uber driver, first-time summit attender, my son Ross Cathy, who's here with us. He'll introduce himself in a moment.
Good morning, I'm Darrell Assure with Chick-fil-A.
I'm just thankful that I got here safely with my Uber driver. I was very concerned, and please pray for me on the way home. So my name is Ross Cathy, and so I help Dad on all of his projects outside of Chick-fil-A.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Mike Vincequera with Trees Atlanta. Looking forward to asking these folks some tough questions.
Good morning, everyone. I'm John Thompson. I'm a commercial real estate executive.
Yeah, I know we do everybody.
Okay, great. Good morning. I'm Cate Hughes with Trees Atlanta. Happy to be here.
Hello, my name is Angel Abreu, and I'm also with Trees Atlanta.
Greg Levine with Trees Atlanta.
Good morning, I'm Willette Jackson with Trees Atlanta.
Good morning, I'm Connie Veates with Trees Atlanta.
All right, thank you. We want to make sure we get everyone. So did anyone walk in? We didn't have an opportunity. All right. All right, thank you. Yeah, so we're going to do a little check-in on our electronic guests.
Yes, indeed. Again, we're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. And just giving a quick shout out to a few folks who are tuning in right now. And the first person I see is a team member, Miss Sonia Dawson. Hey, Sonia, how you doing? Thanks for tuning in. Ruthie, hey, Ruthie, thanks for tuning in. You told me you were going to tune in. I appreciate you following through. We love having you. Teresa Brooks, thank you. Rob Brown, and thank you. Sherry Belil, that's the Booker T. Washington Cluster, Parent Avengers. We appreciate all the work that you all do to uplift our youth. Thank you for tuning in. Let's see, we got Miss Debbie Bracey, Myra Surratt, thank you both for tuning in. John Helton, Jania Billingsley, Anthony Bellows, good to see you, sir. Appreciate all the volunteer effort that you put toward every project that we invite you out to. Thank you. A good bro of mine, Khalifa Lee. Khalifa is an amazing person. And he is, if you know him, he is all about preserving the environment. So, of course, this would not be a summit that he missed. It's good to see you, brother. Thanks for tuning in. We got Cynthia Blossom Kane, always tuning in. We appreciate you. Derek Jordan, what's going on, big dog? How you doing, man? How you doing, Derek? Good to see you, brother. Again, go ahead, if you're if you're watching us live right now, go ahead and drop us a morning greeting and stay engaged with us. We accept, DMs all the time. Slide in our DMs. We welcome it. And you saw the devotion speaker. We love to do with the community, not to the community. That's one of our sayings here. So if you would like to be a part of the Transform Westside Summit by, offering a morning devotion one time, just send us a message, or you can email us at info@westsidefuturefund.org. We would be happy to include you in the program because this is a community-focused event. So we want to hear from the community. All right, John.
All right, thank you. And I was thinking about trees. Funny enough, I'm thinking about trees. But I know at least can't speak for everyone, but I really appreciate the trees that have been around because of the wisdom they have. Think about the history that they've witnessed, and it made me reflect to see Miss Pollard here introduce herself. I think one of our wisest trees, over a 50-year Vine City resident with her daughter. So thank y'all for continuing to be at our summits, and we appreciate that. And I'm curious. Did anyone in the self-introductions hear someone they might like to say hello to? Like I know I did. I heard someone self-introduce, and I'm like, I can't wait to talk to that person. But did any of y'all have that experience? Yeah. So I would encourage you, because again, that's the real multiplier effect of the work is the connections. So that's why we take the time to do these self-introductions. So please follow up on that. And the next part, and some of y'all will be very familiar with it, but as the hosts of the Transform Westside Summit, we want to share a little bit about the Westside Future Fund. And so one part about the Westside Future Fund is we're a not-for-profit, and we draw a lot of inspiration from the history of the Westside, the folks that have come before us, the folks here now on the Westside, but back to a Vine City resident and a graduate of the Booker T. Washington High School and Morehouse College, Dr. Martin Luther King. So we have as a vision to guide us to how to imagine a community he would be proud to call home, and our mission and our values. And you can see that Benjamin called out one of them, to do with the community, not to the community. And then we have a great volunteer board of directors that oversee the work of the Westside Future Fund. And our current chair is Dr. Beverly Tatum, the former president of Spelman College, and she's actually now the interim president of another place she has taught in the past, Mount Holyoke College. But a great board, and should also say he's not up yet, but in our partnership with the city, we have ex officio folks from the city, and we're pleased that one of our newest ex officio members coming out of the mayor's office, Courtney English, is now an ex officio member.
A proud Frederick Douglass High School graduate, Astros.
I know you would know that.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. So we got a great board, and a really important, I should say too, despite our name, the Westside Future Fund does not have an endowment like a regular foundation where we give away so much a year. So all the work that we do are raising funds, and what a lot of the board is helping to do or represent companies that have contributed is to fundraise the charitable donations that help fund our programs. So thank you to our board. And I think the next is our team slide. Yep, and they're nearly all here this morning. You heard them during the self-introductions. And one that's not here, but should thank her because she's such a role in getting the summits done, our Chief of Staff, Sonia Dawson. So this thing I'm looking at right now, for example, she put this all together, work with our guys to get them there, so thank you, Sonia. And then, next slide is, for those that want to become more familiar with the work, we do tours, and one coming up this not tomorrow Saturday, but the second Saturday, and so I'm drawing around to show out some of the collective work, as well as some of the more historical assets in the neighborhood. So if you'd like to do a tour, and we have found that really, if you're not familiar with it, that is the best way to connect the dots, is the tour. And we heard, thank you for your help, but we have, for the first time coming up, a great opportunity to learn more about the West Side, raise awareness of the West Side, but ride for the West Side. So I think we got a slide coming up about Ride for the West Side. So that will be on October 22nd. And from 8 a.m. to noon, we're inviting, and this is actually an idea, she's running the Atlanta Committee for Progress now, used to be the Chief Financial Officer of the Coca-Cola Company, but one of our great fundraisers is Kathy Waller, and it was her idea to do this Ride for the West Side. And so we're inviting the whole Atlanta community, to come out and ride, and any of the proceeds will help support our Home on the West Side program. But there will be a 25-mile bike ride for those that are really good, as well as a 5K race. And then we'll also have self-guided walking, and we'll have music and other things. And we really encourage you to come out, invite others to come out, and one thing in working with other partners, want to continue more, and Ride for the West Side is a great example, is more programming, to bring people together, as well as celebrate the great assets of the West Side. So last week we did an event at St. Mark's in English Avenue, Party with the Past in partnership with the Atlanta History Center. So hopefully you can come out to Ride for the West Side. And I know we're staring at a signal, move faster. So
yeah, we want to give our time back to the panel this morning. So we're going to be switching up the format that we have here at the summit. You're used to having a moderator. Our special guests this morning, they just going to go for it. We want them to have a free-for-all conversation so that they can make sure that they hit all the points and not miss out on any of the amazing work that they're doing in sharing that information with you here this morning. Quick thing, we will be giving away gift cards this morning. So if you didn't get your ticket already, go ahead and get your ticket at the back table with Marnie and Rachel. We're giving away Goodwill of North Georgia and Home Depot gift cards. The Home Depot Foundation, they've contributed so much to the historic Westside revitalization effort. And of course, Goodwill of North Georgia, the great work that they do as far as putting people to work and, giving you some good shopping in the in between time. So go ahead and grab your ticket in the back. We'll be pulling those tickets at the end of the program to announce our winners. That being said, I do want to introduce our special guest once more. Again, we've got Youth Tree Team alumna, Miss Angel Abreu. We've got Miss Cate Hughes, NeighborWoods Manager, Miss Willette Jackson, Workforce Development and Engagement Supervisor, Mr. Greg Levine, Co-Executive Director and Chief Program Officer, and Ms. Connie Veates, Co-Executive Director and Chief Operating Officer of Trees Atlanta. And we've got a wonderful introductory video that we're going to play as our special guests are coming up to the stage. Let's give them a round of applause.
New at 6, here in Atlanta, it's something we take for granted, tree cover, serving as a map of race and income. Researchers now using our environment to build community demographics. Now here in Atlanta, neighborhoods can be very different from one to the next. I want to show you this map here. This neighborhood in Midtown scoring 100. Well, not too far away down in Vine City, this neighborhood scoring a 48. What do those numbers mean? It's called a tree equity score, and it adds up to a number of factors that shape a neighborhood and how trees are the common denominator. In this city, in a forest, Atlanta neighborhoods are not created equal, even when it comes to our most abundant resource, trees.
Trees just really aren't high on the list of things to be looking at.
Greg Levine, Co-Executive Director of Trees Atlanta, has seen the disparity from one community to another. And a recent nationwide tally of trees, known as the Tree Equity Score, digs deeper into the difference. Researchers found that neighborhoods with a majority of people of color have a third less tree canopy than mostly white communities. And neighborhoods with 90% or more residents living in poverty have less than half of the tree canopy that more affluent communities do.
This is what I love. This is what saved me from all my anxiety.
I found one of the lower tree equity scores in Atlanta in this area between Bankhead and the English Avenue neighborhoods. I met Jamaica, tending to the English Avenue urban farm. Would you like to see more trees?
Yeah, I'd like a couple more trees out there, yes. Yes, I like trees. I'll take care of them.
And the trees help take care of Jamaica and his neighbors. In communities with fewer trees, there are more heat-related deaths, more air pollution, property values are lower, and unemployment rates are higher.
Trees are kind of a one-size-fits-all for solving all those problems. And again, mental health. There's been tons of studies, and we know with this past year and this challenging time with COVID that green is what makes people calm down, feel at ease, and bring a little bit of just peacefulness and reduce the stress.
Just 15 minutes east in historic Midtown with one of the higher tree equity scores, I met Terry Smith out for a walk.
To be able to have all of this, it's truly a blessing.
She has no doubt the trees have made this a more livable, comfortable, and affluent community.
Just the walkability of everything, and have some shade when I was out walking the dogs instead of just being in the boiling sun. It's part of what makes the Garden District or the historical part of Midtown special.
Well, Trees Atlanta tells me they continue to work to increase tree canopy cover for communities that need it. You can find a link to the Tree Score website and how Atlanta ranks on our website at cbs46.com.
And thank you so much for having us today. We're excited to be here, and probably when everybody thinks about Trees Atlanta, you think all we do is trees. And that is certainly core to our mission, but we do a lot of other work. So I'm hoping that in about 30 minutes, you'll be familiar with that. Before we get to introductions, I'm Connie Veates, Co-Executive Director and Chief Operating Officer. And we have an unusual leadership team. So Greg and I are actually co-executive directors. A lot of people thought it wouldn't work, two people trying to run things, but I'm proud to say we're in our 12th year. We haven't killed each other yet, so I think it's going pretty well. Greg?
Hello, Greg Levine. I'm the Co-Executive Director, as Connie has said, and I focus on programs, being the Chief Program Officer.
I'm Cate Hughes. I manage the NeighborWoods program, which is our community tree planting program at Trees Atlanta.
Good morning again. I'm Willette Jackson. I'm the Workforce Development Supervisor and Engagement.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Angel Abreu, and I worked with Trees Atlanta for 2 summers with the Youth Tree team.
All right, well, I just want to start off and talk a little bit more about the organization. We are a nonprofit. We started in 1985. We are a community group that plants, protects, and educates people of the importance of trees. As you know, it's critical to the health of all Atlantans as they clean the air, filter our water, and slow down stormwater. And also, as I tried to say in that video, do create a place to peace and relaxation and bring down stress levels, which is super important in the stress that we've been having for the last several years. So the organization, again, started in 1985, and it was started primarily by Central Atlanta Progress, the Atlanta Parks Department, and the Junior League to focus on the lack of canopy downtown. For those that were here in the early 80s and 70s, there was practically 0 trees downtown, so almost a 0% canopy. And that affected the livability and the workability of that neighborhood. As we know, businesses were leaving downtown, and they were really trying to figure out a way to make people want to be there. And it also affected the neighborhoods that were adjacent to them. So Vine City, English Avenue, Summer Hill, with both flooding and also air pollution issues, which causing asthma and things like that. So that was the first program. We planted 15 to 18-foot trees, cut concrete holes, cut the concrete out, plant a tree in the middle of a sidewalk, and we did that for about 5 or 6 years before community wanted to start engaging in their own neighborhoods to plant trees. And that's when we started a program that Cate manages, the NeighborWoods program, and it was our first volunteer program. And I say first because we've had several volunteer programs, and last year we had 37,000 volunteer hours that worked all over the city, putting time back into our neighborhoods and our community. And we have the next program, which Cate's to talk a lot about NeighborWoods. This is kind of the heart of our volunteer program. It's a forest restoration program, and there are a lot of forests that the city had been purchasing. Actually, I know that the Blank Foundation helped do that in the early 2000s, and we have forests that are growing but not at their healthiest because we have so much invasive plants and so much edge that sometimes our urban forests need a lot more work than a forest would be in a more natural area. So we have invasive plants and erosion that are big issues in our native forests. So then forest restoration, which started in 2000, actually with a little bit of help from the Arthur Blank Foundation, to actually deal with the invasive species, remove them so the forest can regenerate. Because what was happening in so many of our forests is that they became invaded with kudzu, English ivy, Chinese wisteria, and they weren't being their best. They were being invaded, they weren't regenerating, and when they're not regenerating, they become a monoculture, which is not a healthy forest for wildlife, but it also isn't doing all the assets and the goods that it does for community. It becomes a monoculture and eventually the opposite of an asset. People don't want to use it and they don't want to get into those forests. So we have volunteers that help remove those invasive species and we replant them as well. And the last major program I'll talk about is the Beltline Arboretum. And an arboretum is a public garden that focuses on woody plants, trees. And we got involved with the Beltline before it was actually an official program in 2005. And it was to add that green component. We like to think it was the icing on the cake that brought all the layers together and make it delicious, but make it actually a great project and a great program. And we have volunteer projects on the Beltline as well. And on a typical Saturday, just to get a sense of how many volunteers come out. I don't know if anybody's volunteered with us here before, but we have about 5 to 6 projects every Saturday, but we also have them Wednesday through Friday regularly as well. So a lot of opportunity for community to make the difference that they want to see in the world. So with that, I'm going to have Cate talk a little bit more about NeighborWoods.
Sure, thanks, Greg. So yeah, to Greg's point, NeighborWoods is our community tree planting program. So what me and my staff do, we work with leaders, community leaders and residents and neighbors to plan and plant trees all over the city of Atlanta. And these projects come about in a number of different ways. We receive requests from community members, and we also pursue outreach opportunities, partner with other local organizations to kind of identify places that the community wants trees. And I think that that is what grounds our work, is starting from that community-driven place. And we're always looking to build new and foster long-standing relationships in the communities that we're working in. As Greg mentioned, our big programmatic goal is to increase canopy cover. So we're always looking to plant canopy trees where they can live. But most importantly, again, is looking to address specifically the needs and desires of whatever particular community we're working in. All of our work starts from that place, and throughout the process, from the ideation to getting the trees in the ground, always want to bring it back to that community-centric focus. And I was looking at our data yesterday, and it says we've planted 1,700 trees in English Avenue, Vine City, AUC, and Ashview Heights. I suspect that number is a little higher. But most recently, my staff has been working really closely with Pastor Winston and Mother Moore and the beloved community to help realize the plans for the Brawley-Alexander District by St. Mark's. So last season, we planted a number of fruit trees there, and we'll come back this season to continue working closely with the pastor to help realize that goal. And that's part of a broader neighborhood initiative in English Avenue to create that really pollinator-friendly fruit tree, neighborhood-wide kind of green infrastructure. And that's been a really exciting project for us. Some other things, we were involved with tree planting at Cook Park, which I'm sure y'all are familiar with. And at Lindsay Street Park several years ago, English Avenue's first park. So we, partnered with Conservation Fund and Park Pride, Wawa, all the other partners to realize that, which has been a really great asset for the community. Let's see, Greg mentioned the Beltline. We have volunteer opportunities every Tuesday on the Westside Beltline, so come out with us. And last fiscal year, we clocked 2,500 volunteer hours just on the Westside Beltline alone. So it's a great opportunity to get familiar with that trail. And on that note, volunteerism is a huge part of Trees Atlanta's and especially NeighborWoods' work. So 46% of that, 32,000 hours came from NeighborWoods projects in the last year. And what I love, this is the thing that I love so much about our work, trees obviously, but the way that, or when I think about like community forestry, that community is the people, but it's also the trees and it's also the wildlife, and kind of bringing all those things together, bringing volunteers from all across the city, different walks of life, different backgrounds, to kind of all come together to create this like meaningful, long-lasting change, this impact that is, 50 and 100 years from now, I think is really, really special and important. And at its core, that's what our work is all about, right? Bringing people together and empowering communities to, protect and improve their hyper-local urban forest. And yeah, it's just the greatest. And with that, we're ready for our next video.
My name is Dana Render, and I'm the Director of Education for Trees Atlanta. And our mission is to improve and grow Atlanta's urban forests through direct planting of trees in Atlanta's green spaces, education programming, and conservation efforts to promote biodiversity. When it comes to the classroom visits, this past year we did 234 classroom visits, a little over 5,000 students that were reached in this year's education program within school, and that includes in school. We also go to Boys and Girls Clubs and YMCAs, and we also participate with schools doing STEM nights. So they learn about Atlanta's Beltline Arboretum, which is a living museum of different tree species, ground covers, and also shrubs. And they learn how the Beltline fits into the entire ecology of an urban forest. And so we teach them the difference between a working forest and an actual forest that would be left alone to do what forests do, to supply support for life for animals and humans, and participate in the regular life cycle of the ecology of the city. Our youth tree team program is a workforce development program where they're learning not only about horticulture, arboriculture, landscape architecture, forestry. They're also learning about personal discipline, financial literacy, and then also professionalism and other various soft skills that are transferable to any field that they decide to go into. And so this past year, with our students, we had 29 that participated with us. We typically hire up to 32. About 60% of the students that participated this year indicated they had an interest in a green collar forestry related career. In the past, we've had students visit Jamestown and Warnell, and they've truly enjoyed being able to go to those spaces to learn about what planned forests actually do, in addition to the other opportunities for forestry that we present to them.
Hi, I'm Troy Harris. I am the Managing Director of Jamestown Timberland, a division of Jamestown LP. But by partnering with Trees Atlanta and working together, we help Trees Atlanta improve their content, their programming, their educational messaging. We're very aligned to what we're trying to accomplish, which is, demonstrate that forests are a good thing, and how important they are to the state overall and the state's economy, green jobs. The partnership just basically blossomed and evolved into one of trust and synergy that really, I think, leveraged the strengths of both foundations.
So speaking about education, we really want to get the youth involved at an early age. I manage our youth tree team, which is a high school workforce development program that focuses on urban forestry, community forestry, arboriculture, and horticulture. We recruit from all of Atlanta schools. So this year we recruited from 4 Atlanta counties. The students came from 29 schools, which is amazing. In the video, they gave some numbers, but those numbers are from 2020. This year, we were able to hire 50 students. And this year, 22% of those students were returning. So a tremendous growth. This program originally started in 2016. So we started with 12 students. And again, we hired those 48 students this year. 4 out of the 48 students graduated. So they completed this year, and they are actually entering their first semester as college. We are retaining the youth tree team after they graduate, which is really important for us to continue that growth through our organization. 4 of the youth tree team members have either worked with us as interns. Angel starts this next week, being a part of our team. And then we had 2 of our youth tree team alumni actually be a part of our urban forestry crew this summer, actually maintaining the trees in our green spaces. The youth tree team works directly with our crew. So all of the spaces they work in actually are spaces that we have contracts in. So they do weeding, mulching, watering. So a huge part of our maintenance has been done by our youth tree team. So they're really able to see the underlying mission of our work. So just some numbers to actually put in perspective of the work that the youth tree team does. This year, they were able to service over 1,345 trees. They used 905 mulch buckets. They used 3,125 water buckets, equaling up to 15,625 gallons of water. And they removed 29.32 of invasive species. And that's really crazy to think of, because our crew, they perform this work all summer, but for these high school students to come in at a 7-week time frame and do this much work is amazing. The students are really able to engulf our mission, not only mentally, but physically. So that's really that's our mission, to create stewards for the community, and now they can pass that knowledge on to their neighborhoods and their family members and friends. Not only does our program focuses on workforce development, that's like 70% of the work, but we also want to teach soft skills, a lot of things that you can transfer not only here at Trees Atlanta, but throughout life. We have a financial literacy partner called Community Sustainability Enterprise, and they partner with us to teach our students about financial literacy. They do budget coaching, they talk about credit building, how to save for your first car. So a lot of information that we normally receive later in life that I received when I was 25, these students are able to start receiving this information at 14 years old. So that's really amazing. Our financial literacy partner also opened up free checking and saving accounts for the students, but also their family members. So it's really not only giving that information to the students, but to their parents, their cousins. So really creating that family network for, a more sustainable and financially stable family. This year, our youth street team was actually able to save over $20,000. That's crazy. And some of the stories that they share with us, that they didn't have this knowledge prior to the program, but for some of the students to be able to buy their first car by the end of the program says a lot about our students. I am really grateful to be able to manage the youth street team program. I really see myself in these students. You're able to mentor your inner child. You're able to provide knowledge to students that will carry them throughout the rest of their life. We also share with them our enrichment partners. So we take them on field trips to really not only talk about the work we do and what's out there in the green collar industry, but to really show them in real time. This is a career that can be very fruitful for you and your family. So that's really amazing to see. Our application process starts in November. So if you know of any high school students who wants to be a part of the program, tell them to join to go online at treesatlanta.org, and they're able to start the application process. We start in November. We hire our team by February. So we are looking to hopefully hire more than 50 students this upcoming year. So we're looking forward to a successful next season. And now I'm going to pass it along to Angel, which is our youth street team alumni.
Hello, and thank you so much, Willette. It's been so great just working under you and learning so much from you. And yeah, so I worked with Trees Atlanta and the youth tree team during summer 2020 and summer 2021. And overall, it's just such a great experience. Like, you explained it best, but just being on the team and learning firsthand from everyone above me and everyone around me that was on my level was just one I just won't ever forget. I think I gained so many skills from financial literacy, as you mentioned. Like Deidre Cox was one of my financial advisors, and I believe she taught me so much because here I am. I think I'm pretty good financially, well off, learning so much, saving so much. I also had the honor to work under Travis Harper during my first year. He taught me a lot how to stay on time. It's just learning so many things that aren't just like, trees related. It, carries out into life itself. Just being on time, don't be late, stuff like that. We also had many field trips, which was cool. We went to the Atlanta Botanical Gardens. We got to learn about flowers. And all those other field trips helped me open my eyes to other green collar jobs. And that was really great because before then, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. Like currently, I'm a rising junior at Georgia State University. I'm a business major. And I'm like, okay, maybe I'll just go work in an office somewhere. I don't know. But I think I want to be outdoors and, work with trees, with the environment, with our community, like Atlanta as a whole. We have so much greenery, and it's so beautiful to be able to contribute to, helping it grow and seeing my friends enjoy it and being on the Beltline, every day, just thinking, wow, okay, cool. I helped with that. That's heartwarming. It's nice to be around that. I really enjoyed working with my team as well. I'm not exactly, I think we had about 32 people on my team last year and the year before that. And it was just so great having like that recreational feeling of being around people my age who have like similar interests and hobbies. From 8th grade to 12th grade, I personally was in online school, so I really didn't have the friends, and I didn't really join any clubs or anything outside of school. So to have those 2 summers towards the end of my high school experience to be around others was just really great. Like I made so many friends that I still talk to this day, even though I wasn't able to participate last summer because I aged out. But it was really great to still have them. For example, Frankie Deck, she worked with the internship I'm about to take on now as a volunteer coordinator, like intern. She kind of referred me to the job and made sure I was good to apply and work, and I really thank her for that because she was looking out for me, and that's something that I think I really built over those last 2 summers. So now that I do get to have that internship, I just want to thank Trees Atlanta as a whole for opening my eyes to like all these, so many opportunities, such as being here today. They invited me to be here today. I think it's just great. You know, Travis Harper, Dana, Connie, Greg, Cate, Willette. Shout out to all of you guys, like just for having me here today. And yeah, just overall an amazing experience. And like she said, if you guys know any teens who want to sign up, want to get out there, want to help the environment, help their communities, definitely tell them to sign up. And we also have like programs for younger kids as well. Like I have a little brother that I would love to send to the summer camp that we have. And yeah, thank you.
Could you all join me in a round of applause for Angel? I'm always so impressed when our youth team students come because a lot of them is their first job. And they're a little rough around the edges. I mean, it's like, wow, we have to show up every day, we have to work outside, yuck. And by the end, you see they're Angel's very typical. They are so articulate and polished, and we hope that they'll continue with green space jobs, but if not, we don't care if they're lawyers or bankers or doctors. We think that they're going to have a true affinity for nature. So thank you, Angel.
Thank you.
Trees Atlanta could not do what we do and accomplish what we do if we didn't have so many great partners. So today I just wanted to talk about 2 of them. And the first is Westside Future Fund. And I'm going to share a story that John probably doesn't know and Greg probably doesn't want me to share. But part of Greg and mine's job is pre-COVID especially, is to run around the city in meetings, trying to tell our stories and get other people to help us in our mission. And usually we do those apart, but sometimes we do them together. So it was a hot August day, and Greg and I jumped in his Prius to go meet John. And we probably met with him maybe once a year to try to think of partnerships, and we didn't really know him that well. So right before we get off the exit, the Prius decided to stop working. So that was, we had about 10 minutes to make it to the Westside Future Fund offices. So Greg said, you hop in an Uber, I'll deal with AAA. And I said, what are we talking to him about? And then before we had left, Greg had said, oh, don't worry, I've got it. You don't need to know anything. So there I am in an Uber, driving, getting over there, all hot and sweaty, flying into the offices, thinking, I don't even know what this meeting's particularly about. But John was super nice. He jumped in, he said, I love trees, and I think there's got to be some way we could work together. And he really came up with this idea that they were working with some apartment complexes and some multifamily housing. And what if we partnered with you guys? We're going to have great indoor spaces, but what if we have state-of-the-art, really environmentally sound exterior spaces? And we can get those communities to have a space where they can go outside and enjoy beautiful nature. So that's what we did. So there were 6 different units. We worked with John and his board. We helped design those. So we actually added trees to each of the sites and made sure that we increased the canopy. We also added an orchard on English Avenue, a small one. We went through and all plants were either native or edible. And we made sure that the parking lots and then there were playgrounds in each one so that kids could get out. So thanks to John and his vision, we recognized him this year as our partner of the year. So we really appreciate that. The second partnership I want to talk about is a relatively new one. We have been partnering for years with most of the environmental nonprofits throughout the city. But this past, during the mayoral election, there were about 12 nonprofits that came together And we met with all of the mayoral candidates to really talk about what we do and how we could help the future mayor advance, green space. We were fortunate that Mayor Dickens was elected. He's probably one of the biggest proponents of what we do. And he suggested we form a Green Space Advisory Council. So all of us do that. We meet with him, about once every quarter. We just met with him this past Monday. And we're actually trying to be thought leaders and proponents, do philanthropic fundraising, whatever he needs to help propel his mission, which is to try to protect and improve parks and green space around the city. So this past week when we met with him, we were focusing primarily on how to improve the safety and usability of parks and also on workforce development issues. So we're very encouraged about the city right now and how they're partnering with nonprofits. The last thing I wanted to mention is that our current headquarters is in Reynoldstown. We've been there 16 years. We started growing so fast we outgrew it and we had to lease a couple of spaces. So right before COVID, we decided to launch a capital campaign with a new headquarters. And thank you to Cox Curry for helping us do that campaign. We were successful in it. And we should be opening our new headquarters in historic Oakland City by the end of the year. And so we are very excited about that, and we hope you'll all come to visit us. It will have a community space, it'll have an education space. It was a brownfield, very industrial site with only 2 trees on it, and our plans are to add about 200 trees to the location. So I think it'll be a lovely place for everyone to come. So that is our presentation. We have a few minutes. If we have any questions, we'd be happy to answer them.
You mentioned, Connie, that in 85, the impetus of this was the evaporation of the canopy in Atlanta. Was that a particular spot? And if so, what happened to that canopy today?
Greg, you want to take that one?
So I think it was a realization, I think for downtown specifically, that it was an uninhabitable place. It didn't have any tree coverage. And one of the many things they thought they could do without having to put as much revenue in would be to green it. Really, it's a visual. They thought it could actually improve the visual part of downtown. And they also thought that investment continues to grow, whereas a lot of investments tend to deteriorate. Trees continue to grow and become a bigger asset to communities. The stories on loss of trees and canopy loss for Atlanta really didn't start until the early 90s, actually, where they were starting to do back then it was more the heat, looking where the heat was. And if you look at downtown, it was always red, which it was the hottest and had the least amount of tree coverage. Since then, unfortunately, it's starting to grow into our neighborhoods with it's great that more communities moving in, but we are losing a lot of canopy. So that's kind of the reason that we pumped up the effort to start planting in neighborhoods, because the tree loss was going beyond downtown. I don't know if they answered that question, but.
First of all, thank you for doing what you do. Very, very valuable. I'm going to go back to Benjamin's remarks about how when you look out over Atlanta, it seems to be a very, very green city compared to a lot of other cities in the United States. I've been here for 40 years, and I think if you go to the top of the Peachtree Westin and you take that rotating restaurant and you look out, you'll see a notable difference than what we saw 40 years ago. My question is, what opportunities do you have to work with commercial developers and zoning commissions to keep them from taking 10 trees down for every 1 tree that you guys plant?
Greg, you want to do that? We'll give you all the
Hard questions. We should have planted questions. So we are working on the tree ordinance right now with other partners, and obviously the city is managing that. It's an extremely slow process. The tree ordinance hasn't changed since 2000. So basically the tree ordinance purpose is to plant tree per tree back. And so when the developer can't put all the trees back, they pay a fee that can help plant the trees that they removed. But if you haven't had a change in what they call recompense fees, since 2000, then you can imagine the cost to plant a tree is much greater. So they're working on getting the recompense fee changed, and they bring in developers to the table as well, and it's community people and environmental groups and the developers in the same room right now with the city trying to improve that. One of the biggest challenges is that the fee is not enough to plant trees back, at least per tree. The other big issue is that it's really a mindset of when we're developing, are we leaving place to plant trees that will grow to the same size that were removed, meaning you're not destroying the soil and you're leaving enough soil volume underground for the trees. If you go to the Martin Luther King district right now, there's a giant hole at the corner of Edgewood and Boulevard, and you're wondering how they're going to put soil volume and take a full block, how they're going to put soil back to actually grow trees back. And so that's a zoning issue, and the tree ordinance will probably change way before the zoning fixes will. But again, it's been 3 years, and hopefully this mayor is going to make it happen. There's a lot of challenges around it, and a lot of it's just we have to give a carrot and a stick to have developers want to preserve trees, and right now, neither is big enough. Which is why we're losing canopy, and everything that we're seeing is showing that we are losing canopy in Atlanta. It's about 47%. And when they did they did a assessment in, what's it called when you look from the sky? Like a young person to help me with this. An aerial assessment. They noticed the only places that we're actually getting growing canopy are along our streets, which is primarily where we are planting them. That is not good. We want to get trees back in the actual lots, yards, even the densest of our apartment developments need to have trees and canopy. So hopefully it will improve over the next 6 months, and we'll get an improved ordinance that everybody has contributed to.
Our church has been a beneficiary of the Environmental Protection Agency mediation project, and they've installed some wonderful grass and wonderful shrubs. And we were considering some trees, and the fruit trees is of interest. Now, when you plant the fruit trees, have you found that to be detrimental when people trying to get the fruit to mess up the land?
Okay, you want to take that one? Sure. That's a great question. Yeah, I know that especially lately it feels like there's so much interest in fruit trees, which makes sense, right? Or it ticks these multiple needs and multiple boxes. We've found the most success with sticking with the native fruit trees that would grow here naturally and fruit without much intervention. And those can handle a heavy harvesting. So like American persimmon and Chickasaw plum, serviceberry is another great one. So ones that, because I think it's important too to consider you want a tree that can survive here and without this huge input of maintenance cost in time or resource or energy or whatever it is. But those native fruit trees tend to do really, really, really well and provide plenty of fruit for the people who are eating it, but also the critters that enjoy it too. If you can beat the birds to the service berries, you gotta be fast.
Alternate sides, or is there a question on this side? All good? Oh, Dan, all right.
Dan, Kathy, thank you so much for this very, very valuable information. And I have to confess, I've been a part of some mass grading exercises in which we've lost some really, really incredible legacy trees. And I've had some remediation in my thinking. And one of the first things that we do now is we do a GPS survey of all of our legacy trees. And we've been making amendments to our development plans so that we're able to preserve some of these historic trees that are very, very difficult to replicate. It takes 100 plus years to build some of these incredible trees that we have that are so almost saintly worshipful in terms of how the majesty of these trees and how inspiring they are to the human spirit. So I'm a confessed I'm improving. I'm not completely there yet because I have to deal with a lot of the financial consequences of all this, but I do think that somewhere we're going to have to find a middle ground, and there are some of us that are reformed, improved tree huggers.
Thank you for what you do, again. I grew up eating a lot of free food that just was growing in nature, and it's a huge part of my childhood memories. And when I came to Atlanta, I'm like, these kids don't know what little plums are. I was, like, where are they? And recently I went to Carver High School, and in the back of Carver they have apple trees. You know this. Okay. My question is, are you partnering with Atlanta schools, and would you consider, please, to plant things like I heard this lady mention nuts, like,
Yeah.
Well, she says pecans, I say pecans. But yes, if you could plant, I think it would just be so awesome if the children at school could go and the nuts are on the ground and the plums are in the trees, and peaches, please. That's my request and question. Are you partnering with APS?
Yeah. Sorry, can I? Okay. Yes. We, last year, I think Price Middle School, we planted similarly an orchard by like a community learning garden on their campus. And that's a place that I would love to plant more. Or I think that is just like the perfect, Willette's talking about all the, education opportunities, and I think that it's just so ripe for that. So yes, we are always open to that and seeking those opportunities. And I think that, I don't know off the top of my head, but I know that we're planting at a few other schools this next season. Oh.
Planted at Capitol View, actually a little arboretum at Capitol View Elementary School.
Nice.
Too. Just for the diversity as well as fruit trees, to talk about how important diversity is for all wildlife and all people for the long-term health. So, sorry.
Oh, no, for sure. No, well, that's it. What's that? I love that so much. Well, and I think too, nut trees are so wonderful, or to have the diversity of the canopy, but then also the fruit. And I think that there's something like really lovely about, having this kind of like really tangible connection to nature and trees, or seeing that you can literally eat it. It's so, and fostering that kind of wonder for kids I just think that that's the most tasty thing. So yes, I love and would love to talk to you more if anybody has any ideas for opportunities there.
Thank you. Tillman Ward, Community Resources of Atlanta, based in historic Vine City. We have the name Vine City, but not by accident. We have the names in Vine City, Elm Street, Chestnut Street, Maple Street, Oak Street, not by accident. I would say I'd like to piggyback, but not to insult anybody. I veggie back. In terms of partnering with our educational neighbors, we have a George Washington Carver initiative we're initiating. He was one to do wonders with the peanut, of course. And we are developing a leaf turning festival in the fall. There's something that can be done with all the beautiful leaves after we've seen them change, that they don't clog up our sewers, that there are people who are investing in our leaves in other states. They found a use for them. So partnering with our schools. So I'd like to thank you for the calendar that I have that has the trees, what they are and what they do. As my friend said, if it weren't for horticulture, we'd have no culture. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, John. I want to thank your group. You've inspired my thinking. I lead an organization, the Boy Scouts of America for Atlanta, that camps just this summer 8,500 scouts on 3,600 acres around Metro Atlanta, a little bit more North Georgia, a little bit East Georgia, but they're mostly Atlanta youth. So you've made me think what more can we do to educate our scouts when they're on property, to recognize, as Dan said, legacy trees and the health of a canopy and our responsibility. So you've had one good outcome. Thank you. My question is as we look to educating children in the future, you did a nice job of showing some of your efforts there. What would be the main things that you would want today's children to think about for the future of just health of trees and the balance that Dan talked about? Just thank you.
Willette, you want to take that one?
Yes. I think it's really important, and this is not only for kids but adults, to realize that we can make an impact, easily. I think a lot of people think it has to be on some grand scale and it's not tangible, but getting involved, like volunteering, and I think education is the key. I think when you do not have the knowledge, you can't make a change, but getting that foundational knowledge at a very early age can make a huge impact. Again, we have educational camps. We do K through 6th graders where they come to Trees Atlanta, and we do a curriculum focusing on the Beltline, but we also go into the school systems. We partner with Atlanta schools to do a curriculum for tree health, tree education. Then we also hop to that high school component. I recruit in all of Atlanta school systems in the surrounding counties. So even if they're not a part of the youth tree team, they're still getting that interaction early where they have some foundational knowledge of why trees are important, the benefit of trees. And I think it's really about making it relatable. Sometimes if it's not relatable, kids are not interested. But saying, hey, like when you walk outside, what are the benefits of trees? You can breathe, right? You have healthier, cleaner air, pollution, shade. And I think COVID made things a lot more relatable. If you don't have a healthy green space, then your health-wise, you're in a bad spot. So making, urban forestry, community forestry relatable to the education of, the smaller kids and high school students.
I would just add one thing to that is that we have learned over the years it's very difficult to change the minds of an adult, but children are like these sponges, so if we can get them excited about what we're doing, the best thing we can hear is when they go home and say, is it okay if we tell mom and dad about what we learned today at Trees Atlanta? So we are really all about the youth because they're going to be the environmental stewards of the future.
So, and we have heard stories about how, they take the knowledge they learn at Trees Atlanta and they apply in their front yard. Like being able to, hey mom, let's plant a native tree. Hey, let's use this leaf litter around our house. So it's amazing the information they can pass on to their parents and to their communities and to their friends. It's different when we give information to high school students or, toddlers, but when they hear from their friends, like, oh, this is cool, it makes such a huge difference.
Hi, I wanted to know if any thought had been given to Beltline Orchard, and if you could possibly discuss the lifetime cost of planting a fruit tree.
Greg, you want to take that one?
I'll try to do that one. So when we started working on the Beltline in 2005, we did a concept plan, and the area that we had, the section that was going to be an orchard was the area by the farmer's market, which actually our new offices are moving to. That was originally a farmer's market, so that section, the idea was to add as many fruit trees as possible, and because each section had its own concept. But we've learned from Beltline they didn't want all the food in one place, because for multiple reasons. So we actually spread it throughout, and we have plums over by Ponce City Market, pawpaw trees in Reynoldstown, and persimmon in West End in Oakland City. So we kind of spread the fruit throughout. You could actually eat pretty well for about 2 or 3 months on the Beltline if you're okay with eating food that grows on the Beltline. But as far as future orchards, they have no plan for one spot. Again, they want to drag it throughout the whole community so everyone can get to it and not have there was one concern. We always talk too much, but Reynoldstown was getting a lot of fruit trees, and they thought they were going to have too many rodents, so they didn't want as many fruit trees. But when I say that, Reynoldstown, a few people in Reynoldstown versus other people are like, just fill it up with fruit trees. But you always get, the squeaky wheel sometimes gets listened to a little bit more than the happy, quiet people. Cost for maintaining it or cost for? So it's interesting, planting is not usually the biggest cost, for trees. It's more the long-term care, especially on projects like the Beltline. It's a pretty stressful environment when you think about the soil has been ripped up and it's pretty much compacted clay, and there are lots of invasive plants. The Beltline was the old tracks were the way that kudzu spread throughout the city. They followed the tracks and went into everyone's backyards. Now they're removing it from the tracks, but all the kudzu comes back from the yards where they haven't been removed. So one of the biggest maintenance things is really invasive species. And of course, a lot of organizations where they're paid to have the planting, the initial part, the maintenance and management's a harder thing to raise money for. So right now, figuring out a way to bring funding from the Beltline and from the city to actually do the long-term care. It is not an inexpensive project to maintain because it has so much edge. When you think about a park, it's a dot, and it's kind of insular, and doesn't have a lot of things coming at it. But when you have 22 miles, you literally have 44 miles of edge that have, everything from invasive plants to trash to flooding and stormwater. So it's it's a high maintenance kind of project. I don't have a number for you, but I think they're estimating you need about 2 to 3 staff per mile, and the budget was well over $2 million, and Lee Harrop would probably tell you it's probably $3 or $4 million to maintain it when it's completely built. So I don't know. About 1,000 goats per mile, and you got to replant everything. They ate everything. So got to contain those goats. To keep the dogs away from them.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Jory Myers. Shout out to Angel. Georgia State University is what actually brought me here in 2006. J. Mac Robinson, so shout out to you. Best of luck with everything. That's actually where I was able to meet my wife. Georgia State University, I love it, so I just had to give that shout out. I always represent. I own a transportation company, Atlanta Dispatch, and I had 2 things that I wanted to say actually. One, I want to be able to partner with you guys because I love everything that you're doing, but I'm not sure if there's a huge logistics presence in the people who are volunteering with what you got going on. I host a podcast that supports supply chain, so if there was anything that I can do to support that effort to bridge that gap, I'm here. All right, but also, practically speaking, for somebody that lives in Atlanta, I live 3 miles that way. We have a tree that's not too far that is kind of dying, but it's one of those mature trees. Like, what do we do as people who live in the neighborhood when a storm might come, it might knock it down? Is there any guidance that you guys would have for people who are, in the vicinity of a tree that might fall?
Kate, you want to take that one?
Sure. Or I can speak to replanting it, less about.
So replanting, you talk about replanting? How did so I don't want to. First of all, you want to have a certified arborist. There are a lot of tree companies. If they're not certified, they probably really don't know. It's basically a certification for knowing the health and how trees grow and when they're dangerous and when they're not. So we want to have a certified arborist take a look at it to see if it's an endangerment. And then there's proper pruning that also can be guided by certified arborists. So that's the key person, and you want to make sure they're insured too. Those 2 things: certified and insured. They might cost a couple $100s to come visit your tree, but if it needs to come down and does, damage to your house, it's a much greater, bigger thing. So it's good for them to take a look at it. And I think the other thing is realize when you own property, you need to have those trees looked at, especially their big old trees, every few years just to make sure they're good, especially if they're ones that appear to be on their way slowly out. And Cate can talk about replanting different trees.
Yeah, and if it so happens that the tree does need to come down, we have this really great program that's been or since I started at Trees 5 years ago, it's become this huge part of what we do, our front yard tree program. So in the city of Atlanta, we can offer up to 3 free trees for your front yard, and that includes planting, and we'll work with you to select like the right species for your yard. And yeah, we'll come out and plant it, give you all the information you need to take care of it. And it's the greatest. And yeah, so we planted, I think, something like 800 or 900 front yard trees last year all across Metro Atlanta. And you can find more information about that on our website. But yeah, it's a great program. Thanks.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Rosario Hernandez. I manage Historic Westside Gardens, and we have 4 community gardens in English Avenue in Vine City. My question is about when you say monoculture with trees, mainly when you see trees growing, they're like all the same. Why is a monoculture damaging to a forest or to an open space, a green space? Somebody mentioned monoculture, and I'm just that usually see all the trees that are the same.
All right, yes, monoculture. The problem with the monoculture is that you think about the way, the last 1,000 years that the ecological system of the trees and the plants, hundreds of species developing with the pollinators and the insects and the animals. And if you have one tree, like crepe myrtle, which we do plant a lot of, that's a tree from Asia. And our insects and animals aren't used to those, so there's no connection. And so if you don't have a lot of diversity, you're losing, if you care about diversity of animals and wildlife, you're going to lose that. But the other piece is when you get diseases and you have a monoculture, like we have with the American elm, for those seniors in the room, American elms lined the streets of the United States from the East Coast to the West Coast. And we lost like 90% of our street trees from the 1940s to the 1980s because it was a monoculture for street trees. And so they're not resistant to a disease. And these disease and pests, because we are a global world, they get brought in from other countries, and then you end up losing your entire canopy on your streets. And the other thing I would think is we hear about pollinators and insects, and it's not great news that we hear their numbers are dropping. I think for again, those over 40, remember when you went to Florida or to North Carolina and you were driving on the highway and your windows covered in insects? Y'all remember that? I'm telling you, I drove the same routes. You may have 1 or 2 insects on your windshield. We're losing our pollinators, everything from the 500 native bees that live in the United States. So diversity is super important, especially if you want to support those bees and the caterpillars that turn into butterflies and moths that feed birds. An oak tree can feed 500 species of caterpillars, which is 90% of a young bird's diet.
So will the service berries attract pollinators?
Yes. Yep.
So whenever y'all have any extra, remember us, Historic Westside Gardens, Rosario Hernandez?
We'll chat. All
right. And then another thing, when we talk about I'm sorry to keep up, y'all, but when we talk about native fruit trees, what mainly are we looking at? Because, everybody wants apples and pears and plums grow great on the west side. But what other fruit trees can we put in?
Sure. So the ones that we, I guess, and correct me if I'm wrong, but Chickasaw plum is one of our native plums that will just take over, and you don't even have to look at it, and it'll just produce the most delicious little plums. American persimmon is another, and serviceberry, like you're mentioning. And those that and pawpaw is another great one, and is hot right now. Everybody loves pawpaws. And yeah, they're just so great because they grow here naturally, and so they don't need any extra intervention. When you get into the, more exotic fruits, peaches and apples and things like this, they require that extra management, whether that's spraying for pests or really intense pruning or just this, extra layer of maintenance, which if we're planting trees all over the city and we don't have the capacity to go back and provide that really extra care, your fruit tree never really produces fruit in the way that you might have imagined it to. And so we find that sticking with the native, and that's true for any native plant, it's meant to be here, and so it doesn't require, once it's established, it will do its thing, you know, and there's something really lovely about that too. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, following up on that, on your website for an aspiring developer or anyone, you know, building in the community, is there a website that you can go through that all those plants and trees are listed? So you know, if someone doesn't have any information like myself about trees,
Yeah.
but you're concerned, okay, well, I want trees and I want native trees, is that on the website? And it is listed very succinctly of a plan. Here we go. It needs to be written for a developer and the way a developer thinks in their language versus an academic explaining all the reasons why versus a list. Here's the list.
So we have a list of like the 50 trees in Atlanta on our website. They're not all native, but they all grow well here. But it's it kind of covers all the different sizes in the top 50 that you'll see here. So that's a great resource. And two truly are like, I know that for me, I think I can speak for everyone, we love to talk trees. So if you ever give us a call, you'll probably be like, please stop, like that's enough information, you know, but like always happy to chat about that for sure. But yeah, that 50 tree list is there.
We also do lunch and learns about every month, I guess, where it's Ask the Arborist, so you can just call in and ask any question about trees, and someone on our staff will answer them. So you can get a live person.
And kind of piggybacking off Connie, we have speaker series as well. You check our calendar. So different educational resources for adults to learn more.
Yeah, the head of Arbor Day Foundation, the huge foundation, is actually speaking on Monday, next Monday, about the work and the effort globally that they're trying to work on. As well as when we're talking about the downtown 8,000 tree plan. We have a plan to plant 8,000 trees downtown. I think we're on 400 right now, but that would increase the canopy from about 3% to about 20% in 20 years.
What would it take to maintain
A lot of money.
That's the hardest part, because we typically maintain trees 2 to 3 years, so we're raising a lot of money to get that to happen.
Great job. Do you have any final reflections as we wrap up here?
I do. So I think that think about what your favorite tree is and realize that it won't necessarily be there in 10 or 15 years from now, and it's really important for you to plant trees in your yard or in your community, wherever you can. And I just want to start, I thought we should, as we were going through introducing ourselves, my favorite tree is a white oak, and I just want to share that, but it's nice to think about what your favorite tree is. I think everybody does have their favorite tree. Connie, what is?
My favorite this week is ginkgo. And what Greg taught me years ago, once you learn the name of a tree, that's when you start to love a tree. Okay.
Yeah, white oak is also my favorite, and I think someone mentioned like kind of like the spiritualness of it. Like if you stand under a white oak canopy, it is a cathedral, or it's this like it's the most. And I think that like that love is the like most important thing, right? Or like that's what. Oh, it's so delicious.
I believe mine is the tulip poplar, or the black poplar. It's sentimental for me. I'm originally from Chicago, so my dad's grave is, you know, a poplar is underneath his grave, so it's really easy to identify that tree, and, you know, being a part of the earth, it warms my heart. That kind of goes back, like, to my last thoughts is, you know, how trees is really like healing, and sometimes we can be disconnected from nature, so really getting back to our roots and really being involved in tree planting, and, you know, because if we want to be here for a while, we have to invest in nature. We have to get back to nature. And I think a lot of it can be, you know, realizing past history and connecting that to the future and to the present. So, you know, don't be afraid of being a part of nature. And also, you know, connecting your children to nature. So check out our website for our new tree seeing program. And also community engagement. I manage community engagement, so we really want to get all community involved, especially since we're moving to the west side. Community engagement is the center of our work.
Being from California, I've always said my favorite tree is like a palm tree, but now that I've experienced a couple falls and like all the seasons, I think my favorite, kind of stole mine, Connie, is the ginkgo, because in the fall it's just such a pretty yellow, so it's so nice.
All right, well, It's been a great Q&A. Why don't we give them a big round of thanks, appreciation. I can come on.
Thanks, John.
Thank you.
So that was a great Q&A. So thank you. Oh. No, I think quite the you mentioned the spiritual nature of trees, and so there's like across the street from my house is a really tall old, and often I can have a kind of a challenging day, kind of reflect how long that tree has been there, its stillness, its shade, to kind of try to recenter. So I love trees, and we love the partnership with Trees Atlanta. So thank you for all y'all did to really lean into working with us and giving us the privilege of an award, and hopefully, the award hopefully is more about what we get done in the future than what we did in the past. So thank you. So what's your favorite tree, Benjamin?
Well, I gotta tell you, I just love trees in general, but I think probably oak tree.
That's because I said it.
Well, no, it's I'm following your lead. Great. No, but it's sort of a family thing. So the house I grew up in, my grandmother's house, we grew up surrounded by them. And there was one just beautiful one that we had at the corner. And funny enough, it was there, obviously it was there for hundreds of years, but it was there my entire life. And a few years ago, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, I had a dream about it. And maybe that next week, my sister had a dream about it. And I think my mom might have had a dream about it. And it turns out, it felt, everybody has their own beliefs, and no disrespect to anybody's beliefs, but, the reality is we are not separate from nature. Like a lot of, our society, we are ingrained to think that, there's nature and then there's human beings. But no, we literally grew out of earth. So as much as a tree is a part of earth, so are we. And so that connection is inherent. And I make that point to say that the tree, the week that we all dreamt about it, essentially, we had somebody come out and check it, and it turns out the tree was dying. And so we had to cut it down because it literally linked, it had a tilt towards the house. So had it fell over, that would have wiped out basically the home that we grew up in, and probably killed a couple of us, to be honest. But just thinking about that connection, that's something that I take very seriously. The connection with nature is very, very much a part of who I am. And so I appreciate, the work that you all are doing to spread the information to help us take care of the environment, because again, it's not just, trees and, we're tree huggers and hippies and all that stuff. Like, that's cool too. Yeah, that's also true. But, it matters what we do to the environment, because we are equally a part of it. It is a collaborative effort between us and our green cohorts. We literally trade breaths with them. So it just makes sense that we take good care of our environment. Just wanted to say that. That being said, we are giving away 2 gift cards to 2 lucky winners this morning. One from the Home Depot Foundation, and Home Depot is one of our, amazing partners.
Yeah, because I think they sell trees, don't they? And so if you win this gift card,
as a matter of fact, yeah, I just went and picked up an orchid yesterday,
right.
Just, as a nice gift for somebody. But yeah, we're giving away Home Depot gift card. If you have your red ticket, now's the time to pull it out. Red ticket. Lucky winner of the Home Depot gift card, 399-0559. Again, 399-0559. All right, congratulations. You come on up to the stage. Actually, we'll get a picture with you. You can come right here. Yeah. All right, one more round of applause for our lucky winner. There you go. You want to smile right here at the camera?
Okay.
Westside shout. All right. And next gift card we're giving away is from Goodwill of North Georgia. Goodwill of North Georgia is a vital partner of Westside Future Fund. They also are helping to put many Atlantans to work. And, you're going to catch some of the best deals for clothes that you have ever seen in your life at Goodwill. So go ahead and shop with them. They've got a new center out on Metropolitan Parkway. it's a great opportunity to, you know, do some good while shopping for some of your greatest deals. And the winner of the Goodwill of North Georgia gift card is it's a blue ticket, 130180. 13018. All right, come on up, brother. Congratulations.
All right, one of our Summit frequent flyers.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We appreciate you coming out. Congratulations on your win. Thank you. We're going to smile right here at the camera. Again, we Westside Shouty. You feel me? All right. Appreciate you, brother.
So we're winding up, so thanks for being here. Our next summit will have, as a panel discussion, Goodwill of North Georgia. So they'll be here, I think it's August 19th.
August 19th.
And they do, if you don't know, but what they really do is job training. Mm-hmm. So we often think of them as kind of the place you go by or donate, but that fuels an awesome, and Benjamin just mentioned the new center they opened up. So they'll be here. And then also I was thinking about connections, because I've made some new connections coming out of the summit today. And some of y'all may have seen, but a recent study came out that said that one correlation of economic mobility is your network. And it said those on the lower end of mobility, if they had connections, higher, more resources, much higher. So one of the things that we can all do to help each other is that connection. So we have greatly benefited with the Westside Future Fund. So just kind of want to draw that out, but I'm going to let you take us out, Benjamin. Thank you.
Yeah, well, I mean, again, stay engaged with us. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Again, we appreciate everybody who tuned in today. We'll see you again on August 9th. Until then, you all stay hydrated, stay safe, stay Westside. We love y'all. Appreciate it.
Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll, and it's time to run it up, yeah you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor, ayy, on the road, here we go. Yeah, we winning by a landslide. Never see me coming, I'm a landmine. Yeah, I ain't taking orders in command, like, yeah, you about to see me on demand, like, you know on demand. If you ain't know, you about to understand. Yeah, I got the team by my side, right hand. Yeah, take it to a string, you ain't seen it like that. Yeah, and it's the dream, and we coming for the bag. Yeah, and we ain't ever going back now. Future expedited, now we on the fast track now. They won't lend a hand, now they see us on the map now. It's time to act out. Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll.